was trying to brighten it up a little bit more. Okay.
Am I bright enough now?
Yeah, you're good.
We do have to reopen up. Hey, I guess we're talking about phishing attacks, right?
Exactly.
Yes.
Phishing
Yeah.
and getting attacked.
It's whenever you go to like cast, your rod and then you hook somebody else. It's like they're attacking you with it, right? No. Well, Sean, what's a phishing attack?
Definitely not that.
Oh, can you explain it?
Hey, welcome back to neoRhino Tech Tips. I'm Sean Roop.
And I'm Chris Tripp with neoRhino IT Solutions.
And today we're here to talk about phishing and kind of go over what phishing is. So, Chris, what is phishing?
So phishing is a fraudulent attempt to try and extract information from your company, usually done through emails, and sometimes it's directly to yourself, trying to get your bank information. That's kind of like going towards your Gmail accounts, your Yahoo accounts, and all those things. But yeah, pretty much it's whenever someone's trying to obtain information through you through I guess a malicious means.
Right. Yeah. Absolutely.
So how's it done, Sean?
So typically, you'll see, a lot of times it's done through emails, and you'll see the majority of your phishing attempts coming through emails. Typically through a spoof email where someone is playing like they're the CEO of the company, or the head of a department or something like that, asking for a wire transfer, for bank information, for personal HR information, things like that. But there's many different ways to do it. Websites too. A lot of like shady websites will kind of have similar style. They'll have like links in them that don't necessarily go to the proper locations, emails and things like that. Yeah,
as well.
So that's kind of the majority of the attempts for phishing. Can you think of any additionals?
Most of the ones that we've seen are C-levels or emails that look like they're coming from your C-levels, usually account managers, but sometimes even all the way up to the owner of the company. Mm-hmm. And someone's acting as if they are the owner of the company, asking you to buy like 100 gift cards for some event and then send them to a specific address, or something along those lines. A lot of the times they'll start off with just, hey, we need this done. And then a lot of people, if you're like in the accounting department, you need to know the difference between if that's your higher up's email address or not. So you need to check into the email address. You need to make sure, like verify with that person that they called, or that they're specifically trying to get that task done, because a lot of the times it's going to be a malicious activity. Someone's just trying to get money out of you.
Right.
And just for themselves. And a lot of the times we've seen it a lot in the past for iTunes cards and
all sorts
kinds of different gift cards all over the place. A lot of it's Amazon too, I think. Sometimes you apply for Amazon
absolutely.
cards.
Yeah.
So.
And that kind of goes into the preventative measures for this too. It's a big portion of preventing these attacks from happening is training your users and even yourself to see these emails and recognize that they're trying to scam you in some form or fashion. A big thing to look at, obviously, you already mentioned the email address that it's coming from, and a lot of times it'll be either a similar address where they've just changed a letter here or there, or if they have, sometimes they won't even try to hide the email address, they'll just change the name on the account to show the CEO's name or this person's name.
So it'll look like it's from that person specifically, but then you look at the email address right next to it, and it's like from a Gmail account, and you're not on that domain. For work purposes.
The best thing to do, obviously, in those cases, if it's something that looks like it's from the right person, and everything checks out, check with that individual to make sure that they actually submitted that request. That's probably, it may add an additional step to your workload for your emails, but it's almost a necessity to make sure that those kind of things don't happen, especially if it seems off from their usual day-to-day.
Yeah.
Typically, a CEO is not going to.
If it does seem off, and if that person's not available, or if you just really want it, you should be able to always contact your IT provider for just information. Just forward them over the email as an attachment to the email, and they should be able to tell you right away if it's spam, spoofed, or
almost
a phishing
instantaneously.
attempt.
Yeah.
So. Yeah. We've become well versed in the phishing attacks.
Absolutely. So some of the other ways that we can prevent those attacks from happening, you can use web filters to help filter out a lot of those attempts before they even make it in. I mean, obviously, web filters are unfortunately not foolproof. They're not 100%. Things are going to make it through, but it will. From our side of things, when we look at the reports from the daily traffic that comes through on those web filters, you can see just such a large majority of emails caught, with like a handful that make it through. And it may seem like a lot to a typical end user, things like that.
Filters,
yeah, well, some spam filters. I'm sorry. Yes, email filters.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. Email filters. Yeah, so a lot of times they'll see a number of those emails come through. But if you look at the logs and you look at the numbers of actual attempts throughout the day, it's massive.
You can look at that one person and you just look at those logs, and it's just you've probably got 90% of them blocked, and you received 3 that day, and it may seem annoying, but a good 90% or more was stopped by that spam filter on the phishing side and the spam side. So it's definitely helpful to have one of those in place. Yeah,
absolutely. And there's also anti-phishing websites. That you can go and put the bulk of an email message into this website. It'll tell you whether or not it's been a reported attack. There are a multitude of sites, and we'll throw some links in below here. If you have any questions, you can go to those sites and check them out.
Or ask us in the comments.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. You can, if you know something that we've missed too, definitely let us know below, and we can utilize that going forward as well, and for everybody, not just for us.
Definitely. And for that, we would appreciate anything via the cloud or hosted solutions, or just non-hosted solutions in general, and also the software version. So there's pretty much those 3 different types. Can you explain any of those?
So for your cloud and things like that, you've got Barracuda, you've got Office 365. There's a multitude of
and Office 365 has theirs built in. Right?
Yeah, they have their own built in, and then there's different levels. You can buy higher tiers of protection on top of that to help really crack down on that. But even the standard is really good in 365.
Yeah, you can put it. You can make it too good and start blocking a lot of emails.
Yeah, exactly. But you can always go in and make those tweaks. So their system is based off of different security levels on the base level. So it's a little interesting and takes a little bit of time to get right that first time you get it set up. But once it's there, it's usually pretty good.
And you're always going to have those one-offs too, because it's a constant thing where, hey, can we whitelist this one, blacklist this one? This one just keeps hitting me on a daily basis. Yeah. They're not getting blocked, so we can add those specific domains or email addresses to the system to prevent.
And even IP addresses we can add to try to block a range
of IP addresses. Yeah, we can block all the way up to the IP.
Blacklist particular regions of the world that you are never going to expect to have mail come from, and that will help cut down on that as well.
Definitely.
One other thing before we move on from preventative is reporting the attack. So if you notice a phishing attack come in, reporting it to your IT, or if you don't have IT, reporting it to your higher ups, letting them know that, then maybe that will spark them to kind of reach out to an IT vendor to kind of communicate with them.
Implement these solutions that we're saying that need to be implemented.
And even in 365 webmail now, they've got a feature to right-click and
block phishing
or report a phishing attack as well.
That's right.
So,
and also with Gmail, if you've noticed a Gmail account that has sent you a phishing or a spam email, Gmail now also has the ability to report a Gmail address. You just go into their system, report it, and pretty much tell them why you're reporting it, and then they're pretty much on their A game with getting those false email addresses doing these phishing and spam attacks. Pretty much, they'll remove it the whole entire account as long as if they can prove that that's the kind of mail that's been flowing out of it.
Yep. So I think with phishing, that's pretty much the bare bones for phishing, right? Is knowing the bare bones. It's kind of knowing knowing what to look for, reporting it, and having preventative measures set up to help prevent it from even happening.
Certainly.
So, with that, can you add anything else to that conversation? Or?
No, just the important key points is make sure you have yourself a filter. Look into, make sure that the person who you're receiving it from is actually requesting that kind of information, and try to make sure your IT staff knows. And the more everyone communicates about which addresses are being sending out those phishing attacks, the more we can prevent them from happening to not only you and your company, but pretty much everyone around the world.
Yeah.
So
So, all right. Well, with
Pretty
that,
nice.
that pretty much goes over our phishing episode for Tech Tips. Thank you all for joining us again. We really appreciate it. If you have any questions or comments, please feel free to leave them below.
Yes.
And with that, I hope you guys enjoyed watching. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good one.
Bye. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the after show. Chris is dead. That's just me. Yeah.